Thank you so much, Dipti, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Great to have you here to for another round of great discussions to share about AI and Google search. And the question today we will try to answer is how do you win on the AI answers? And what are the best practices that top brand leaders, top agency leaders we work with are using to really navigate and do well in this era? So let's start out with some top news. This may be obvious to you, but 44% of users who've tried AI-powered search say it's become their primary source of information, compared to 31% who prefer traditional sources, as a McKinsey survey. And I'm sure this is rising by the day. 50% of consumers use AI-powered search tools. And again, this is a major shift, and that rises. The tool might vary. It could be ChatGPT, it could be Cloud, it could be Google AI, but the number of people, percentage of people using this is rising. According to Adobe, visitors from AI-driven answer engines show higher purchase intent compared to traditional search. Totally understand. As a user myself, I go into AI, ask various kinds of questions to really understand, and then go to the site. And then I might do a Google search to learn more and more. So this is an area that we're all closely tracking, and I will estimate, I know that there's going to be more activity, and every time we have this webinar, we'll be sharing some of these relevant tidbits. Now, the real question is, AI search creates new challenges for leaders. And here's 5 questions that we've heard top brand leaders ask. A, how do you measure brand visibility in AI-generated answers? We have really oiled the machinery on Google search, but how do we do that on AI? Number 2, how do we ensure our brand is recommended over competitors? And not just recommended when I do a search, recommended by my buyers and influencers wherever they are in my top markets around the world for my top lines of product. As they're learning to considering to purchase, how do I make sure my brand is portrayed over competitors and portrayed well? Number 3, this is more like a demand generation modeling problem. As a CMO, as the head of demand marketing, how do I forecast my leads that are influenced by AI discovery? Number 4, how do I maintain my brand differentiation when I risk being commoditized? I've spent all this money to create my own brand in front of my consumers all this time. AI summarizes how really do I maintain this differentiation and really maintain my premium brand from being commoditized. And then finally, how do I, when I have the answers and I get my teams to orchestrate their activities, how do we make sure that I align my work streams around traditional SEO, content, PR, paid, and others? These are 5 key questions we've heard brand leaders ask us. Now, maybe let's start out with a question just to get our thoughts flowing here. Would love to understand, how prepared are you for the impact of AI-generated search results? 1, we have a clear, defined strategy. 2, we're aware but not yet acting effectively. And number 3, this is totally new to us and we must start. Give ourselves maybe 30 seconds or so. I'm very curious to hear. And Dipti, you'll be sharing that later in our presentation. Okay, perfect. Now, let's go back. How should you win in AI search? Through our work with leading brands and agencies, us being in the depth of this day to day, talking to many, serving clients. There is a methodology that we've developed that we want to share with you. And that starts out with defining really your starting point, which is what are your top markets that you want to really appear strong in? What are emerging markets? Listed out, like here's the countries, here's the metros, here's the DMAs, what have you. So just trying to boil the ocean is too much. So what's your starting point? What are your top categories? If you're Nike, for example, running shoes is obviously an important category, but then is apparel a rising category? Is is other kinds of products that you're trying to sell important categories? So defining your top and emerging categories that you're focused on is important. Define your relevant competitors. Right? Um, like be Hoka and New Balance. What other sort of emerging competitors that you really want to understand and make sure that you are covered versus them. Um, then you want to document your important questions that you want to be asking, that people are asking AI. You get those signals from Google source data, Google Search Console, Google Ads data, even Google Trends might give you some insight. Then you want to translate that into prompts by brand, by different lines of products, by competitors, by the ways that customers ask from the time they're trying to find out what are great running shoes to, is Nike a great running shoe to where can I buy a Nike running
Also,
shoe?
I think you're not sharing your screen. If you can just quickly share the screen.
Oh, okay, sure.
Let's see, just to make sure.
Sorry about that.
Yep, that's good now. Go.
Yeah. And then finally, you want to ask your sales teams. They are the ones that are having conversations with clients, asking, how customers are finding out about you. So you want to add these, and then that's your starting point. And we spend a lot of time working with clients to define the starting point so they're monitoring and maximizing the value of AI. You just don't want to jump and kind of be given everything and try to boil the ocean, but being very precise helps you have a good starting point so you really attack the key areas that are going to drive the impact. The second step is you want to monitor, right? So you want to monitor across these questions that you've selected, curated, I should say, you want to monitor regularly. So here's an example of various searches that we were doing on running shoes. You want to understand who is showing up. Is it you? Is it competition? And how are you portrayed from a branding standpoint? Then, you want to do this over top markets. Um, are you being mentioned in if Boston and Chicago are your top markets? Are you being mentioned here? Or are competitors, are the resellers being mentioned? So you want to really understand your visibility. And if you're a Foot Locker, for example, and Chicago is a top market with the Chicago Marathon, and Boston is on the top market with the Boston Marathon, and you never show up, I mean that's a problem, right? So you want to understand like who's showing up and what they're doing to show up and how they're being influenced to really show up here. With all this monitoring that you're doing on an ongoing basis, then you understand, right? What's your holistic visibility? And I can go into the dashboard and quickly show this. This is all derived from our dashboards. But really, like we believe, like the top brands, what they're doing is they're not creating silos. So what's your visibility on AI, which is on the right-hand side, across ChatGPT, across Google AI mode, Google AI overviews, Perplexity? Is that rising and falling, right? Like in this case, ChatGPT visibility tanked, ChatGPT and Perplexity, but Google is rising. So you're wondering, like Google AI mode, what are we doing right on Google AI mode and what's going wrong in ChatGPT? So you're monitoring by the different LLMs, you're monitoring this overall. And then on the left, we show you how you want to keep a pulse of Google. So what's your visibility on Google across organic, like text ads, shopping ads, videos, and everything else going on? So this is the eagle's eye view that a leader responsible for kind of revenue is looking at. You're going to be tracking this. Step two, like I'll give you a few more views. Tracking rise and fall versus competitors by the different AI engines. I'll do one or two more slides and I'll try to take you to the dashboard. How does this vary by your top markets? So, Amsterdam versus Warsaw versus Madrid versus New York. How does this vary by your category of products? So it could be in the lighting space, like how you doing for questions related to compliance, questions related to pricing, questions related to innovative lighting solutions. So this is some work we were doing with the lighting client. So what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get a segmented view of the market for your top cities, top countries, down to lines of business. And then from here, what you're really trying to find is what's competition doing? Why are they showing up? Where are they showing up? You know, what questions are they showing up that you're not? How does that vary by market? Like, for example, in this use case, this is like a furniture client, which retailers are offering great furniture, right? Like, so in New York, they have strong visibility, but they're losing in the LA market, as an example. So you really want to understand. You can really see if LA and New York are important markets for you, then for your top questions, are you losing or winning? And then why are you losing? Is it are you not getting picked up by certain publishers? So, you might have been picked up in the LA market till last month, and suddenly your competitors starting to get picked up by that top publisher, as an example. Were you picked up by New York Times till last month, and now you're not getting picked up, and so on. So what you're seeing is you're monitoring your important questions across the important lines, which is from awareness to consideration to purchase by your different lines of product. You're asking these questions to Google and the AI engines. You're understanding, are you showing up or not? And if you are showing up, who is coding you? Is it yourself? Is it some publisher that's coding you? Is it a big publisher? Is it a local publisher? So that could create an opportunity for outreach, and you're kind of aggregating that back and doing the same at a market level to an AI level. So this way, this is your eagle's eye view. And with this, you're not caught in one AI engine only, because the usage, while all of the AI engines are rising, you're trying to make sure that you're visible on the top engines. You're trying to understand what's the difference and what's like, for example, going back to winning on AI, what we were finding was on ChatGPT, a lot of the more higher domain authority, some of the bigger publishers are getting picked up more than on Google, where it's a much broader set of publishers. So you're able to deconstruct all of this. This is what leading brands and agencies are doing. Really understand where they're strong, where they're weak, and really double down. And even like going into the Google site, this is a great view, which is you're able to understand what's your visibility on Google and how does that vary across shopping, across text ads, across merchant listings, and so on. So there's a lot here. And so some of the top brands that we work with are doing this. And I actually wanted to bring this back to our dashboard where you can even get a sense, right? So here's our dashboard. And Dipti, I'll ask you to keep me honest if you're not
we
seeing
can
this.
see it. Yeah,
Okay.
we're
So
seeing it.
our Compass dashboard shows 92 keywords that we are monitoring across 2 locations, various kinds of keywords in the apparel space across different categories. You can see this men's, women's, outdoor, footwear, and so on, and various prompts. This is a representative sample. And here's the eagle's eye view. So what's my visibility on Google? What's my visibility on AI? Is it rising, falling? Who are the top 5 brands for my cohort of questions? Um, you have everyone from J. Crew to Ralph Lauren to Travis Mathew. And then how does this vary across on Google? You see like some like YouTube is obviously here, but if you wanted to compare, you have Dick's Sporting Goods and American Eagle and others. Then the other view, I have all of these loaded up, so I want to share with you guys quickly. So here's American Eagle and H&M, your Abercrombie, and going down, and Gap, I'm right here. American Eagle, I'm right here. So what's my visibility by different elements that are strong on Google? And you want to be tracking this, which is as Google and AI is changing, the top brands are literally looking at the various things that are being introduced on the search page and then finding opportunities. You're looking at it by category. How does your visibility vary across polos or golf, pants, footwear? So this is us finding opportunities. So if you're H&M, then you have some opportunity on pants as an example. It's not as strong if you're trying to really push that line of business. And you can do the same by market as well. So in this case, I don't know how many markets. Yeah. So how does it vary in LA versus New York? So this is a tactic that brands are using. Then let's go into AI in the interest of time. So here's your visibility by different AI engines. And what's your share of citations? Who is showing up on citations? Are competitors showing up or you're showing up? How does this vary across prompt groups? So I'm giving you a piece of uh, our solution that top brands and agencies use to really understand their visibility at a macro level and then go down to the details, because the details are super important, and being able to segment it by platform, by location, by prompt intent. Um, Here you go, commercial versus informational, to brand, non-brand, down to like the prompt level, to prompt groups, to domains, looking at yourself versus competitor. All of this are ways that clients are finding opportunities. All right. I'll go back to the slides and happy to go into this in detail for anyone that's interested in learning more. Um, okay. Now moving on. So we talked about opportunities, the various ways that you find opportunities. Brand sentiment is a piece we didn't touch on. But if your brand is talked about negatively in a certain space, brands are able to find out what exactly is causing the negative sentiment. Is it a review from a third-party seller? Is it coming from a Google merchant feed? Sorry, Google My Business or others. So the other thing is you want to be closely watching the search. Right? So this is an example from Google search, which is we track these over time, and the top brands and agencies, they're going where the puck is going, which is what we were noticing is the AI overviews was rising through last year. And so if you're super focused on optimizing on something that's visible today, which a lot of classic playbooks do, you miss the opportunity. So what we are all seeing is ChatGPT's, what it's showing on the page has been evolving. Our hypothesis is in retail, we'll be seeing a lot more like we've seen in the Google SERP for retail. And so you want to understand what is ChatGPT showing on the results page, and how do you make sure that the areas that it's really pushing, you have a strategy to go there. So we're beginning to see ads. And so how are ads showing up on ChatGPT? How do we optimize our feed? Are there best practices from Google that are applying here? So all of these important questions that you want to understand. But the key is you want to understand where the puck is going, and make sure that your strategies and tactics are aligned to this. Now, and with that, like you're constantly, like the enterprise teams we work with, what they're doing is they are A, tracking visibility, B, They're making sure that their brand is preferred, recommended, whether it's their own URL or source coming from citation from publishers. It could be in retail. It could be listings from your resellers. So if you're Nike uh, on running shoes, if DSW is the brand that's getting picked up by AI, but is DSW is it showing Nike or is it showing Adidas? And making sure that um, there might be some trade promotion dollars also that go into making sure that your products are being better curated, as they're sent to the engines. So a lot of those kinds of things are an area that we've seen enterprise teams work on to really be preferred. Authority continues to be important, and we've seen, at least in our study, we've like ChatGPT has more listings from authority sites, so you want to be continuing to improve your authority score. Make sure you're visible across the top AI platforms and Google, and especially in areas that are rising. And at the end, really track your share of voice and make sure that you have strong share of voice on your top markets by your top lines of business, and also keeping a sense of your brand sentiment. Now, I'll turn it over to Dipti. I'm curious on what the poll results, how they've come
Sure. So
out.
we have, we have 88% stating that we are aware but not acting confidently. So I don't know if that took you by surprise, but yeah, 88%, largest number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. So what I've seen is many brands and agencies, like the top agencies, this is an important area that they're focused on. Like the CMO has their eyes on this, and so there's lots of dollars that are poured into the space, whether it be from a technology standpoint or services standpoint. But I'll forewarn you um, that having a tool or a solution that's super specialized in one piece only isn't going to serve your need. You really want to have a broad view of the market and go where the puck is going. But to come back to your question, what I found is we've spoken to many brands where they have their Google machinery, Google tactics really well oiled, but they are getting started because there's more and more traffic coming from AI, leads coming from AI. Like we were talking to a clothing company earlier this week, and she was super interested in really um, making sure that her brand was visible on AI. And I was asking her, so how are you going to go about doing this? So she needed two things. One, she needed the technology, the tools to have the visibility, and she wanted to make sure she was tracking visibility correctly. You don't want to be thrown all these information at you. Don't boil the ocean, right? You want to make sure you're asking the right questions. You're getting information on the right questions people should be asking. So make sure you instrument your monitoring solution effectively. She wanted to do that, number one. And number two, she said, I also need services because my team is an expert in Google and paid ads and SEO, and AI is a new space. And I really want to be working with people who understand how to optimize for AI. Google is important. I don't want to distract my team. They're doing a great job. But AI also is also important. And I want someone to come in, hit the ground running, and I want to make sure there's synergy. So, but yeah, thank you, Vicky, for sharing that. Um, Now, I wanted to open it up for questions. Um,
We have a couple of questions. Let's see if we can get all in or not. The first one is how do you track leads from LLM?
sure. So, what I've seen is you are able to track this on Google Analytics. Like, for example, us as a company, we're able to track leads that are coming in from ChatGPT through LLMs. Um, The other is, this is a little dubious, but a little unsure, I should say. But many times people find you on LLMs, and they do a direct brand search on Google. So if your brand query, like for example with us, if Grow by Data's, the amount of impressions, clicks, questions coming on that is rising, or they're like Grow by Data's AI monitoring solution, if that rises, that's also brand familiarity, and we've indirectly attributed to that coming from us being visible more on AI. But um, those are two tactics, which is like seeing it on Google Analytics as well as through an indirect medium of this coming through this. And the other thing we also do is you want to ask your customers, how did you find us, and where did you find us?
Okay. All right, thank you, Prasanna. The next question is, how should we prioritize investment between AI optimization, SEO, and paid search?
Sure. So ideally, you're able to carve out additional budget from your management team for AI. Now, why is this is a rising market and it generates more leads, more business. And so it definitely warrants investment. Now, that said, you might not get it right away, or things might be different with your farm. So short term, I would make sure I'm optimizing my investments I'm putting into SEO and paid search. There might be opportunities to reduce paid spend by tapping into like optimizing keywords that are at striking distance, so you get more organic visibility. And then secondly, you might have overlap, words where you have text ads or paid ads on the top with organic listing as number one. So you might be able to trim down some of your spend there and then create budget. And so with that, I would put it into AI, show like traction, and use that as a business case to make more investment. But that said, I think this requires more investment for sure to really capture it.
Okay,